the breath was something extremely divine.
Yes. I think it was in the fourth one when the breath becomes, as you say, like silk.
It has an extremely... I've never actually experienced something like that, so I'm not sure how I could compare it. It's just extremely blissful.
So before this, you had two Pure Land jhanas, right?
I've been experiencing, at least today in the morning, a jumbled mess of something after the first two, and I could just never really pick it out.
Okay. Now, what's interesting to me is that it's possible to give people previews of undeveloped jhanas through the guided tour, and I'm interested in this, in how they develop, because since I didn't have anyone to give me a preview, and I didn't have any descriptions of any of the Pure Land jhanas, I just had to feel around. And what I found as I developed them was that over a period of months and years actually, um, one day a new jhana would show up. So I had, in the mid-90s, I found the first Pure Land jhana, and then within a year, the second probably. And then I went for years without getting another one. Didn't even know there were more. I didn't know, I couldn't find any reference to Pure Land jhanas anywhere. So I didn't even know there were more. And then, just 2 or 3 years ago, I found that Access to Insight map where they talked about 5 Sudawasa jhanas. So that
I
gave me
found...
impetus to
Yeah.
explore. So then I kept going through cycles, and then one day the third one showed up. And then a few
I found
months
several
later the
different...
fourth one showed up. And then finally the fifth. And in fact, I even went through a thing on retreat at the Forest Refuge where I knew there were 5 because of the map, the Pure Land, or the map on Access to Insight, but I didn't know if Nirodha Samapati was one of them. So I had Nirodha Samapati since 2003, and I was kind of trying to sit with it without manipulation to see, well, where does Nirodha Samapati fit within this sequence? Does it come in between the second and third, etc.? And that was when I only had 4. I didn't have the 5th Pure Land jhana. So when the 5th Pure Land jhana showed up, and I actually recognized that as something I'd had a preview of, waking up into it from sleep for years. But then I knew, okay, Nirodha Samapati couldn't be a jhana. It's not even a jhana. It's something completely different from a jhana. And these 5 jhanas that form this package are really clear, have become ever more clear since then. Now, here's something to consider. For years, I only heard about 8 jhanas, and I discovered I had 2 more extra jhanas for years before I found any support for the fact that they could exist. We can't rule out the possibility that there's other stuff we haven't heard about, which is an interesting thing to me.
I found one reference on the net of someone in Thailand, talking about how he's met monks who talk about other jhanas but aren't in the suttas.
Nice. Yeah, send me the link if you can find it.
Yeah, I've got it. I'll send it to you. I have not much going on here.
Yeah, I feel very content just to sit here and stare at this screen. And it doesn't even occur to me to feel very self-conscious about it. I figure you're in the same condition. Now from this point, from this state that I'm in, who knows what it is, it's possible, just like from every other state I know, to see that there's something that's so clean and unstained, unstainable, that looks exactly the same now as it does in every other state. And it's not a thing, it's just cleanness. And that's third gear, that recognition of the clear light. Whenever anybody talks about any state as being more important than any other, I notice this, I'll recognize the clear light and that whole argument that any state could have precedence over any other dissolves.
Yeah, like any interest in a PCE, for example. I don't see uh, anything kind of beating this.
No, there's something very odd about that. It may be that the PCE is the consolation prize for someone who can't recognize the clear light, and that it may be, this is just gross speculation, it may be that it is the timeless aspect of the PCE that is so appealing to people who don't have access to the timeless aspect of, to the timelessness of third gear. And interestingly, the PCE seems to be indistinguishable from a lot of the things Eckhart Tolle says, to just be in this moment. It sounds a lot like, PCE sounds a lot like Thich Nhat Hanh Vipassana or Ajahn Chah Vipassana. So once you take away whatever the actualists are saying about it, the PCE is actually very, very well known to us. And as far as I can tell so far, just another state. The only recognition the recognition that can't even be mentioned in the same universe with any conditioned state is the recognition of awareness as awareness. And interestingly, it's not even necessary to prefer to notice that over not noticing it, because it's so reliably there anytime you happen to recognize it, which just involves stepping aside, really, not being distracted.